And I need to understand that unity is not within us. And that's the reason the Word of God uses. You have to unite your body, spirit, and soul and mind all together. Therefore, God very clearly says, if you have to worship truth, bring all this together. Let your whole thing, what you have, must be united together to worship me. If your mind doesn't cooperate with you, if your body doesn't cooperate, if your heart doesn't cooperate with you, they have different functions. That's the reason we are divided. We sit many times, we sit in the presence of God thinking somewhere. Our body is present, but our mind is absent. There is a division within us. There is a division within us. And God is looking that we bring all this stuff within us. If we cannot control ourselves, we cannot blame anybody, my friends. We cannot blame anybody. And that's what God is examining. That's what God is looking. You know, to be a servant of God, to be a believer of God, we think it is easy. No, when we read Bible very carefully, why did God said, "I'm holy and therefore be holy"? What was the reason? What was the reason why God said, "I'm holy and therefore be holy"? Is He giving us any option? He's not giving us any option, right? We are obligated. What are we? We are obligated. We must to be in the presence of God, to be with God in eternity. We have to be holy. And this life is given to us to prepare us to be holy so that we will be with Him in eternity. Why this life is given to us? Not to enjoy ourselves in this world. You know, nothing in this world comes from God. And also, the Word of God very clearly says that a person who is in you is, who is he? The person who is in the world and the person who is in you. There are two people, right? There are two people. He says, God is in us. If God is in us, these things we will understand. So, I don't know how long we will live, 70, 80, 90, 100, 120, right? And Abraham lived, and Adam lived 800 plus. Methuselah lived the longest life. But let me tell you something. Though God created Adam in his own image, in his own likeness, breath into his nostrils, the breath of life, when Adam came out of the Garden of Eden, I don't know what was his age, but in the 5th chapter, 3rd verse, when you read, very clearly says that when he had Seth, his third son, his age was 130 years. That was the age. So, how many times did God speak to Adam? How many times did God speak to Adam? How many times after coming out of the Garden of Eden? In the Garden of Eden, he had a fellowship with God. And all the time he was speaking to God, praising and worshiping him. But when he came out of the Garden of Eden, God never spoke. During that 700 years of Adam, God never spoke to Adam. Never spoke to Adam. What was the reason? The first man, right? First man, what was the reason? And that's what God is asking us. That's what God is speaking us. What he says, he is looking for how many people? One people. A person who can understand God, who can understand the ways of God, the ways of God is not easy, my friends. And that's the reason Jesus very clearly said there are two ways, narrow and the broad way. The narrow way belongs to Jesus, which we don't like, right? Which we don't like because there are no pleasures in that narrow way. There is only the Word of God and only the presence of God. Okay? And what we desire, we don't have because in the narrow way, we cannot see the world. We see only Jesus in our life. Only Jesus. But this body is created from the clay, and the clay belongs to this world, and there is so many desires in us. Therefore, many times we reject God in our life. We reject God in our life. It's not that we don't know God. We know God. We know God. You know, why did Jonah disobeyed God? What was the reason? What was the reason for Jonah to disobey God? If you read Bible very carefully in the fourth chapter, Jonah, he explains to us the character of God. You are gracious, compassionate, right? You are gracious and you are compassionate. When he says that, Lord, you are gracious and compassionate, and I know that what you are thinking about this people Nineveh, you're going to change your mind. I know very well. Then why did he disobey God? This is the same case with you and me, my friends. This is the same case. What was in Jonah? Anger. Anger. He was angry on Nineveh people. He was jealous about Nineveh people. But still, knowing the character of Jonah, God has chosen. Today, knowing who we are, God is calling us. God is calling us. Knowing what sort of a person we are. Because, no man can deny that there is bad in him. No man can deny there is bad in him. We all, as a humans, we have good and bad. How we balance it and how we do and bring